So this is hard to believe, but we've had Tia Tucana now for 15 months, a bit over a year. Shooting this in January 2023, we picked her up in September 22. So we're kind of overdue for a 12-month review. It's more like a 15-month review or 16. I'm on holidays, I'm not doing maths. Have a look behind me. Can you blame me? Before I get into the review, I've got to say that Tia has been well used over the past 15 months. We're at Stabiliser Bay at the moment, and we've been here 5 or 6 times in that time, I'd say. And if you're not familiar with Stabiliser Bay, is about a half hour of gravel road to get here. It's bitumen most of the way from rocky these days. It didn't used to be, but it's about 30 minutes of gravel, dusty road to get here now. In last July, we did a 3-week road trip out through to Birdsville, to the Big Red Bash out there, and we went via Windora and Batuta and out to Birdsville that way. Lots of dust, plenty of stones, and a fair bit of wet weather as well, so quite a lot of it was mud, and to drive through some fairly slushy bits, which was kind of interesting. Aside from, trips up and down the coast to Mackay and to Brisbane and to puddle in Gin, another puddle down at Kenilworth, we've done a few miles, and a lot of it has been on unsealed roads, dirt roads, gravel roads, sometimes in dry conditions, sometimes in wet conditions. She's had a fair bit of use. So whilst this review is overall positive, we're really happy with the decision we made. Not everything's 100% perfect, and so what I'll do is I'll get a few of the bad things out of the way before we jump into the good things. All right, so the first thing on the hit list is all of these hits here, the stone chips basically. Now, as I mentioned at the start, we have been up and down some fairly significant gravel and dirt roads. So this would probably be less of an issue for you if you were mostly staying on the bitumen. I was talking to Song about this in December, and apparently he has got a supplier for some rubberized paint that you can put on this face here, which should alleviate a lot of that trouble. So we might need to explore that as a possibility. Either that or some kind of stone guard. Now, if you've got the right kind of car, you can fit a small stone guard on there easily enough. Unfortunately, with our Ranger, it does rub against the taillights when reversing, if we're reversing at too sharp of an angle, which does happen sometimes, which is how we discovered the scuff marks on the taillight. So we had to take ours off, unfortunately. But depending on your vehicle, that could be an easy one to solve, or it could be a little bit trickier. But that rubberized paint, talk to Song about that. If you're looking at getting one of these to take off-road, definitely could be worth the extra investment. Now, the other thing is the mattress. So it comes with some cushions for the seats. And to be fair, Song was pretty clear about this when we spoke to him initially, that they're great for seats, but not great for sleeping on. And the first night we picked it up, came home, had an overnight or a gimpy, completely forgot about getting a mattress beforehand. And so our first night was on those seat cushions that it come with. Not comfortable. You definitely want to do some kind of upgrade. We've tried a couple of things, but what we've landed on here is, so there's these mattresses you can get from Clark Rubber, and what we've got is 2 of them. So they fold into 3. So we've got, by unfolding them, we've got basically 2 mattresses thick, and we have found that made a big difference. This is the first trip we've tried it out on. Much improved, really happy with that. So if you pick yourself up 2 of those mattresses from Clark Rubber, and what can happen then is you can also fold those up to be the cushions and the back for chairs when you turn it into a table, if that's what you need to do. So definitely don't make our mistake. Organise some kind of mattress like this before your first night in it. These stabiliser legs have been a bit of an issue for us as well. When they fold up, let me go on the other side because I've only got one side down at the moment. When they fold up like that, the front of it there can collect a whole bunch of mud, dirt, rocks, dust, etc., which is what we experienced, which basically destroyed the thread in there. Now, Song has since put these covers in for us, and I'm not sure if this is happening on new ones now, but when we first picked it up without those covers, yeah, we sort of destroyed the first couple of front stabiliser legs. The back ones were fine because they face the other direction, so the front of it isn't scooping up the mud like ours was. But if you're planning on, taking it off the bitumen, make sure you've got some kind of cap, like this one's got now, on the front there to keep all the goop out. Right, now the other one I'll mention quickly here is dust. I probably don't have an example to show you because it's been cleaned up. Yeah, you can't really see it there at the moment, it's all been cleaned up. Dust ingress is an issue with pretty much any van really, it's not exclusive to these ones. It's a common issue across caravanners everywhere. I think teardrops might be a little bit susceptible because of the shape of the back. So what we did is put this little scoop here on the side. Now that's a marine scoop, so it's designed here to let water out. There's a little exit spot there, top and bottom. Just screwed that over the top of the vent that was already there, and that made quite a big difference. So because we've got the shelf closed up between the main cabin and the kitchen there, it tends to pressurise the cabin okay, but not the kitchen. So when we're driving down the Birdsville track or driving out here to Stanage Bay, where it's dusty, the kitchen does cop a bit of dust on the trip, but the inside of the cabin much less so. So if you're planning on travelling on some dusty roads, some kind of system that pressurises the internals of the cabin will go a long way to reducing that. There's a couple of different methods. There's some other Tucana owners done some things as well. I'll link another video below for an alternative method. And you can even buy like specially designed things to put on bigger vans. So it's not an issue unique to this, but it is an issue that you'll have to combat if you're planning on travelling down dusty roads. All right, so now that we've got that out of the way, let's jump into the positives. So how can you go past the overall design? It gets attention wherever we go. You know, there's a real sort of community amongst teardroppers around the country, but this one in particular, it's hard to go somewhere and not get some attention. Another thing is how easy they are to tow. Now we've got this Ranger at the moment. We have upgraded since we bought it. But we originally started with a Subaru XV, which did tow it okay. You know, it was legal. The XV could tow up to 1,400 kilos braked. But with the longer trips that we're planning on doing, we were just sort of thinking that, you know, the extra capacity and space, so we decided to upgrade. But you certainly can tow it with a smaller car, you know, quite okay if you're not planning on doing extended trips like we plan to. And the other thing too, in addition to the towing and the weight, is you can see where this is here, how close it is there. Now obviously we didn't reverse that in there. We pulled up back here somewhere and we just pushed it into place. You know, you can't do that with a bigger van. And you end up with a view like that, which is pretty hard to go past. So yeah, the manoeuvrability and ease of towing, big plus. The kitchen is a big winner as well. It's so handy just being able to pull up at the side of the road, slide out the fridge, you've got your sink and your burners under there. You know, power if you need it for something small. I've done a separate video about the power, which you can have a look at if you want to. But the kitchen is really, really well set up. Yeah, super handy, especially coming from our point of view, is we used to tent it or had a camper trailer at a time. So just being able to pull up and have everything there ready for you, very, very good. Now I probably should demonstrate this, but it's too hot and I'm too lazy to do so. So I'll throw some photos instead. But being able to convert the bed to a table and chairs is more handy than you think, especially if the weather's a bit crook. When we were out at Birdsville, out of the Big Red Bash, it was pretty rainy and miserable there for the first couple of days. So during the day, we converted this to a table and chairs, and we could park ourselves in there and play cards and just be out of the weather in a bit more controlled environment, and it was perfect. And of course, there's other teardrops that you can't do that, which means you can't kind of sit inside anywhere. If you want to sit, you got to be outside. If you know, all it is basically a mattress on the floor. So we really like having the bed convert to a table and chairs. And coupled with that is then the extra storage that you get under the seats. So you've got 3 storage compartments, one under the front seat, and then one under the back seat, and then what becomes the back of the back seat is another compartment as well for some storage as well. It can be a bit tricky to get to sometimes if the bed's made up, so the sort of stuff you put in there is the kind of thing where you jump in, pull it out, and then, you know, you're done for the day. You don't want to be in and out of there all the time, but it is super useful for throwing, you know, extra drinks and some warmer clothing or some other bits and pieces under there. Super handy. Also, don't underestimate how useful this is either. With a lot of teardrops, if you're sitting on the end of the mattress, you're effectively got your legs hanging out. And in the wet weather, or when it's not great, I sort of don't know how they do it, to be honest. Being able to sit on the edge of the bed here, first thing in the morning, or before you go to bed at night, just being able to get shoes on and off, whatever else inside, is super handy. We've got some storage here, and we've got some Kmart cubes down here as well. But just this little gap between the bed and the door, really, really handy. Don't know how well we're going to show this one here, but the clearance and the suspension underneath it is really good as well. Plenty of ground clearance. As I said, we've been along some interesting roads. The road between Windora and to Birdsville out through Batuta. While we're out there in June, July was interesting. You know, quite wet in places and slippery, and had to drive through some muddy ponds and whatnot. But at no point was I concerned about bottoming out or running out of ground clearance or anything under here. So this side awning I'm standing under here is an option. This is the Super Peg awning. Let me just get outside into the sun. It's a bit warm out here. There it is. Okay, so the awning itself, there's a lot of people don't get it, but I reckon you really should. It's very easy to put up, put down. These guys here are aftermarket accessories that we bought, but the awning itself, just that roof bit there, totally worth getting that. I'm going to get back out of the sun because it's hot. Significant temperature difference under here, and the best thing about it is how easy it is to put up and pull down. Like, it takes seconds, literally, and it's pretty sturdy. We had some pretty interesting winds here a week ago. There's a lot of storms and that went through the Gold Coast and that, which were pretty severe. They weren't quite that bad here, but you know, we certainly had some weather, and this thing held up for the most part. It's been pretty good. Now, the insulation in these walls themselves, whatever they use to put them together, has actually been really good. So, you know, we're at Saanich Bay, so sort of roughly halfway between Rockhampton and Mackay in January. So yes, it's pretty warm, and the thing's parked in the sun all day up here. We don't really have any, unless it's like early morning or late afternoon, we don't have any shade during the day, which is great for getting the power into the solar. But it's in full sun all day, and we have no trouble getting to sleep at night with we've got the 2 internal fans. We don't have air conditioning or anything. Not that you could probably use it out here anyway, because there's no 240 volts, but it stays cool. You know, it stays cool in the summertime. To be fair, we've got a bit of a sea breeze here as well, but it just doesn't seem to hang on to the heat. Similarly, when we went out to Birdsville in June, you know, Birdsville in the middle of winter can get quite cold, but inside we weren't cold. We didn't have a heater or anything like that. We basically had a doona on, and we slept in tracksuits, and we weren't cold at all. We in fact had to pop the side windows open and pop the top hatch a little bit, because it was almost too warm inside there. So the material used to make the walls and the roof is actually really well insulated, and for the most part it won't overheat or get super cold. Now, we haven't had this down in the Snowy Mountains or anything, so if you've been there, let us know, but our experience with the insulation has been really good. Now, one final thought, which is probably the most important one of the bunch, to be honest, and many other Tucana owners will agree with me, is the after-sales service from Stonegate is second to none. There was one instance where I did something stupid and completely drained the battery power in here, and posted a question in the Facebook group as to, you know, to what to do. And within half an hour, Song was on the phone to me, stepping me through what needed to be done and so on and so forth. Like, I didn't ask for that, I just threw it out to the community. And I hope I haven't dobbed him in here for expecting that level of service, but the after-sales service for mine has been first class. Like, you couldn't really hope for more. You know, you hear lots of horror stories in the caravan industry about how bad after-sales service is by many providers. I don't know if teardrops are affected by that, but normal caravans, you hear lots of horror stories. but the exact opposite has been our experience. You know, have we had some issues? Well, yeah, we've had a couple, but nothing too major. But Song and the team at Stonegate have been completely on top of fixing it, dealing with it, doing whatever needed to be done, sorted out. Song's even sort of fixed a couple of things on here for me that I hadn't even realised were an issue, but he'd identified. And you can't ask for much more than that, really. So overall, we're really happy. Would we get it again? Absolutely. And we've got a whole bunch of other road trips and excursions planned for the next 15 months as well. So you'll probably see more of these on the way. But if you're thinking about it, yeah, you won't regret it. Totally worth it. Thanks for watching. Hit the like, subscribe, and all the other YouTube things that it likes to see, and we'll see you in the next one.